June 2, 1965. Dearest Suzie, this is going to be a short letter because I am beat tonight. We had another 9-hour day today, but we didn't accomplish an awful lot. I don't know how we could owe that car lot any more money, but I guess you might as well pay it and be done with it. I guarantee you that the next car we buy will be a new one. No more used car problems. I finally got your shirts tonight, and if anything happens, I will get them in the mail tomorrow morning. I just wish you could get them before I call you, but I doubt that you will. Also, I doubt if Brian's will fit. My tailor used the measurements you sent, he said, but it doesn't look right to me. Anyway, I hope they fit. And at first, when I saw yours, I blew my stack, but he told me that women's clothes are always just the opposite of a man's. That's why your night is on the wrong side. I guess he knows more about it than I do. So, I accepted his word on it. I hope you like them. And if they fit, how about getting me a slide made right away? In fact, send me 2. Lewis Litt wants one. I go along with your idea about the TV 100%, and just as soon as I get home, we'll get Bill those double bunks that he wants. I think your idea is better. I'm beginning to worry about that package, too. It has been 8 weeks now since I sent it. I imagine the post office people stopped it for inspection because it is a large package and I only claimed a value of $10, but there is a lot of junk in it, so they shouldn't say anything about it. Well, I will close and go to bed. I am dead dog tired tonight. I did not forget our anniversary. It is just that I couldn't think of anything that I could send to you mail that you would like. At least I will be thinking of you just like every day, and I love you 8 good years worth. All my love. Bill. Though Popi doesn't mention it in today's letters, or anywhere else in these materials for that matter, it feels irresponsible to talk about the Vietnam War without talking about Agent Orange. I would like to talk about it today just a bit. When most people think about Agent Orange, they think about the devastating health effects it caused, not just for the Vietnamese civilians who lived near the spray zones, but also for American soldiers who served in those areas. But back in 1965, most of the men on the ground didn't really know what it was. Popi never mentions it by name in his letters. When he saw the chemical used, he would have thought of it the way most troops did, as a tool to clear the jungle and make things safer for flight operations or base patrols. Agent Orange was a chemical herbicide, one of several color-coded defoliants used by the U.S. military. It got its name from the orange stripe painted on the 55-gallon drums it was stored in. It was part of something called Operation Ranch Hand, which began in 1962 and aimed to strip away dense jungle foliage that offered cover to the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces. The logic was straightforward. No trees, no places to hide. Between 1962 and 1971, the U.S. sprayed more than 19 million gallons of herbicides over rural South Vietnam, and Agent Orange was by far the most heavily used. Planes, helicopters, trucks, and even handheld sprayers misted it across fields, forests, rivers, and villages. Sometimes it was used to destroy crops, especially in areas thought to be feeding enemy fighters. Agent Orange contained dioxin, a toxic compound that's now known to be one of the most dangerous chemicals ever created. At the time, the military and the chemical companies involved, including Monsanto and Dow, either didn't know or didn't disclose just how hazardous it was. Troops weren't given protective gear, villagers weren't evacuated, the jungle, along with everything and everyone in it, absorbed the spray. It took years for the full scope of Agent Orange's damage to become clear. Veterans began organizing and demanding answers in the late 1970s. Some of them had returned home to find their children born with serious health problems. Others were developing illnesses they couldn't explain. It may not have been in his letters, but Popi used to speak about his exposure to Agent Orange. He said his commanding officers, as they introduced the chemical, would drink the stuff to show how safe it was. I don't know how that makes much sense because they knew it was a defoliant. I can't imagine what that did to their bodies. Though he admitted to exposure near the end of his life when he could have applied for aid through the VA, which would have guaranteed him monthly payments, some of which would still be sent to Meemaw today, he refused. He said that he was doing his job, didn't deserve anything more than anyone else, and didn't do any more than anyone else. We were angry with him for this decision because that aid could have financially helped Meemaw after his passing. One of the most disturbing aspects of Agent Orange exposure isn't just what it did to the people who came into contact with it. It's what it may have passed on. Research over the past few decades suggests that exposure to dioxin can cause epigenetic changes, meaning it may alter the way genes are expressed without changing the DNA itself. These changes can affect fetal development and be passed down to future generations. In other words, the children, and even grandchildren, of those exposed to Agent Orange have shown higher rates of birth defects, developmental disorders, and other health issues. It's not just a toxic legacy, it's a biological one, encoded in the very bodies of families who never set foot in Vietnam. My father was born with a few health problems, and had some develop in his lifetime which are on the list of health issues often associated with Agent Orange exposure. He was the only son of Popis born after exposure in Vietnam, and it is quite coincidental that my dad was the only one with these problems. For example, when I was a kid, we had a pretty big few weeks finding out that he had an unruptured brain aneurysm. It's something he's had to live with his whole life. Literally, it's acted as a ticking time bomb in his head, a dark shadow which, one day, could be deadly. One birth defect noted for children of those exposed to Agent Orange, however, is actually malformed blood vessels. Could his aneurysm be one of these instead? He also had epilepsy, and so did my brother, another health issue associated with Agent Orange. I only mention these things to talk about the material and lived result of Popi's service. He may have been the one who went over there. The people of Vietnam may be the ones he interacted with. But there are still echoes of his service, literally ingrained in our DNA, even 2 generations later. Today, it is estimated that in Vietnam there could be as many as 3 million people in the past 50 years who have been born with birth defects directly attributed to Agent Orange exposure. During his memorial service, one of my dad's cousins and I got into a conversation about religion. She's a big bless your heart, come to Jesus type. We love her for it. As I started telling her about my revelations about Agent Orange and its potential connection to some of our health problems, she referenced original sin, the Christian notion of a sinful condition of humanity inherited by Adam and Eve because of the fall. I had never been a big believer or proponent of the idea, but for some reason, her bringing it up to me clicked. Popi did things in Vietnam, and they echoed through the generations, changing our very DNA. It may be bad, but it was something we inherited. We were born with it. Can the same be said about his actions over there? The things he did? The people he hurt? The people he helped? The photo I chose for today is an aerial shot of boats and buildings on a river. There's much green space on the borders. This could have been an area sprayed, seeking to cut through the dense forest to access the people living underneath. The half-life for Agent Orange in waterways is estimated to be 100 years. I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.